This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the latest installment of the Daily English Premier League podcast, brought to you by Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Michał Czarniecki, coming to you from California. I am joined by a very nice American edition from Chicago, or should I say from heaven, because you've got so much white light in there. It's Viktor. How are you, man?
I'm perfect, man. How about you? Yeah, it's a pretty sunny day in Chicago. It's amazing.
For just 1 second you came back from heaven to Chicago for a second, but now you're back in heaven, which is, I do not think this is what I can say about, there you go. Being in heaven, I do not think I can say the same thing about our next guest, and he's going to be our main point of contact in terms of Arsenal criticism, or maybe whitewashing. Who knows what's going to happen. It's Nick. How are you?
Depressed, drained. At least it was a sunny day. I had a nice walk earlier, and my bank account is richer for not having got a ticket.
Oh, goodness me. So, what we're going to talk about now, I think is pretty obvious. You guys, you're going to listen to it before the semi-final between Barcelona and Inter. So right before you have that show, we can talk about what happened yesterday. And yesterday was a real heartbreak for the Gunners, really, at the Emirates, because, to be honest, the game was, I wouldn't say that it was one-sided. I guess the first half for the Gunners, it was the half to forget, especially for Saliba and how many mistakes he made. But other than that, Arsenal, they put up a fight, and that ball just wouldn't go in, either because of the decisions of the Slovenian referee group, or just lack of luck, or just Donnarumma being in some great shape, and Marquinhos just clearing whatever would come into the box. Nick, I'm just going to start with you. What is your general impression of the Gunners, and how they what did they lack in this game?
We were bricking it the first 20 minutes, and that early goal was it kind of killed the stadium before it even got going, and then we got into it more towards the end of the second half, last 15 or so minutes. You obviously have the goal a minute into the second half, which then takes 3 minutes somehow to get ruled out, despite him clearly being offside after the offside. And it felt like the game just it felt like nothing really happened for the second half until final 5-10 minutes, when PSG really should have got a second goal. It's painful. We were just so average. I don't even necessarily think we were awfully bad, but PSG defended incredibly. I think their rotations, the front line was killing us, especially first half. I think after sorting that out, we're fine, but the intentions just weren't right for me. When players got the ball, their intention wasn't to open up and play forward, and things were sort of just taking too many touches. That yellow card from Party that got him suspended looked worse every minute that passed by, which is why I kind of have some hope for the second leg still, because he'll be back in. Marino should be back up top. Trossard does my head in. So I think it will fit us more. Obviously, it's not going to be a particularly nice environment to go to. And some players who couldn't get it done in quite a tame environment tonight will be under even more of a spotlight going there.
Yeah, and just before we go to what's going to happen like a week from now, let's just return to the goal that actually Arsenal conceded, and the goal scored by Ousmane Dembele. That's going to be a question for you, Victor, because there's a certain number that's going to sponsor this episode. This is number 120. And why? Because Ousmane Dembele has been involved in more attacking sequences of play, 120, than any other player in the UEFA Champions League this season. So bearing that in mind and looking at how Arsenal considered that goal, with Ousmane Dembele having all of the freedom in the world in the box, what do you think Mikel Arteta thought to himself after conceding such a goal?
I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. This is a semi-final, first game at home. Mm-hmm. You need to. There are no away goals. You got to start this game as aggressive as you can be, and Arsenal was the total opposite. So that cost them the game. And if you concede that early, then the whole plan that you had earlier, whatever Arteta came up with, it was down in the water. So they did not show up today. That was a big difference. Saka didn't show up, even though he's been rested for so many games. He did not show up today, and it could have been worse. It could have been better, but I would say the game is still open for the second leg, but they'll have to regroup and start the second game very aggressive from the very start. PSG, for me, definitely the most, I would say, the best team that's left out of the four going forward. So I can see them taking it all the way.
By the way, I just got a hold of another trivia, which is actually pretty interesting. Like talking about them still having a chance. It's only a one goal, but still, only two teams have reached the Champions League final after losing the first leg of their semi-final tie at home. Do you guys want to take a guess of which of those two teams are? Okay, one of the teams, they achieved that in the season 1995-1996, and that would be Ajax Amsterdam. Okay, I'm just gonna let's get that one out of the way.
The year I would have guessed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I just ruled everything.
I actually have a good memory. You guys were not even born. I actually watched that final, Ajax Milan. I watched it at my own bar with my dad. I was a Milan fan because of Savicevic and Boban, Yugoslavian legends.
Right.
But that Ajax team was sick.
There you go.
Stacked team. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Deserved.
Sorry for spoiling the party early then. And the second team, that's happened pretty recent times, and that happened in the season 2018-2019. Semi-final, Champions League. Any guess? Who could it be?
Trying to think who was in the final that year.
Yeah.
2019 Liverpool clinched the title.
Spurs, right?
At Liverpool the end.
Spurs.
So then Madrid beat someone in the semifinal. Who did they beat in the semifinal? Was it Bayern?
Is that Ajax again?
Guys, come on. This comeback second leg at Amsterdam.
Spurs.
Oh,
yeah. That's what I meant. I meant Spurs. Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have
I kind of thought that Nick would get it.
You definitely caught me off guard. Spurs, come on.
Wow. So that just goes to show that your core memories are those that actually stay inside your mind, and this is that, and then the stuff that actually happened recently just kind of goes away for some reason. Okay, so let's just go back to the game, because what you were saying there about the fact that just Arsenal did not they did not show up at all. Just the sequence, the sequence of passes that actually led to the goal from the fourth minute of Dembele. There were 26 consecutive passes that consisted of this entire. That consisted the entire sequence there. And that was the most by PSG in a Champions League match on record since the season 2003-2004. And once I'm looking at that, I just can't help but think, where was the Arsenal midfield in this game? Because yes, like Victor, you already said that the entire team did not appear at the Emirates yesterday. But in more particular, where was Martin Odegaard when he was needed, for example? Like I was just so surprised as to how inept he was in comparing Kvaratskhelia. Kvaratskhelia just could do anything on the wing.
He's really fit. You can tell. Even towards the end, the last few minutes, the way he runs, it feels like the game just started. So Big time player. That's a great signing for them. They can even score in the final to get to the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that there's a big gap with not having Party there, and obviously having to play Merino, which is way less aggressive than him. And you need a player like Party when you play a game against PSG.
I think you saw in that first goal as well, like the dynamics of that midfield. I can only think of them playing together 2, maybe 3 times this season, and you saw it on that goal. There's a pass from, I think it's Mendes. It just cuts through like most of the midfield, to Dembele, which is like kind of how they get their out ball. And then when Dembele's on the edge, Rice kind of gives it up because there's so many players coming back, and Marino should have been back quicker in my opinion anyway. But he kind of just runs past Dembele instead of picking him up, which is like a mental decision, especially when the ball gets passed to Dembele about half a second later. So for me, that first goal a little bit comes down to that. But you mentioned Ødegaard. We'll get on to speaking about individual players after the first ad break, but he is under a ton of scrutiny from like the 30 seconds I looked at Twitter before joining the call. Like, he is not a popular player at the moment amongst Arsenal fans.
And when just like that, Victor, we're now at the times, and Nick as well. We are now at the times where Martin Ødegaard receives more criticism than Jakub Kiwior in this entire season. We're going to talk about individual performances. Actually, we can talk about them right now because I think we've covered all of the general topics from the game, and now we will be able to focus on the specifics and personalities. But first, let's listen to our first ad, which is our awesome sponsor with awesome supplements. Arsenal, you might need that one. That's Bioniq for you.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Bioniq, for sponsoring our podcast. You are listening to Daily English Premier League Podcast, brought to you by Global Sports Podcast Network. We are currently discussing the Arsenal's performance in the very first leg of the Champions League semi-final against PSG at the Emirates. So, let's get on to the details. Let's get on to the individual performances. And I would like you guys to rate everyone's performances on a scale from 0 to 10, with 5 being average, 10 being awesome, 0 being, I don't know, probably not there at all. So, Nick, I'm just going to come to you with the proposal for a note for David Raya for this game.
Like 6. He had that really impressive save from Doué. I don't think there's anything he can really do about the goal. But I think there are times where he was playing too long at times when Trossard's up front. Like, there's nothing to complain about really, but he could have been a bit braver.
Okay. Victor, would you agree with this assessment?
I mean, to be honest with you, everyone except for maybe Rice, I would give a 5 on that Arsenal team tonight. Yeah, there's nothing else you can say. As a team, they did not start the game well, and that just transferred throughout the game.
All right. So
they created few chances. They were good. Donnarumma made some 6 saves, so that's a big moment. Those are some big moments as well. But overall, it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it wasn't enough, and I think that the fact that we remain with a note of 6, I guess, for David Raya is because he really did not have that much to do apart from 3 saves. He did not have a Donnarumma-like performance today at all. So I guess 6 is a very fair assessment. Justin Timber, Nick. What? Jury, not just Justin, Jury and Timber. I'm sorry, my bad. So, Your assessment of him?
Probably like a 4. I think he, in a way, dealt with Kvaratskhelia, but like we were sort of referencing with the referee, he made about 5 fouls in the first 30 minutes and should have definitely been on a card. So in a way, he dealt with Kvaratskhelia, but I expected far more from him. Like the way he's dealt with almost every winger he's faced. He didn't have a particularly good game, I don't think, today.
Well, to be honest, just before I give the voice to, I give the floor to Viktor here. Maybe I will act a little bit as a defender, like some defense for Timber, defense for the defender, haha. That he basically won all of his aerial duels in this game, but then again he kind of lost possession 15 times. So I guess there's not much I can say to defend Timber. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Viktor will come up with something.
I mean, I was just looking as you were talking about the Timber. I was just looking at Saliba and Kivior, and their stats in a game like this. You don't have a single tackle won. That's crazy for a center back. You have 4 clearances, 1 header, interception, recovery, and you have 2 duels won and just 1 aerial duel won. So that's very a little for.
I mean, the tackles I remember them making though. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's nothing else you want to add about Timber's performance?
No, not really.
Okay, all right. So I guess we agree at what Nick said there. And speaking of centre-backs, to be honest, yes, it is a criticism that Kivior and Saliba, they did not even have a lot of tackles and they were not super present and super active in the defense. But then again, just looking at those little details, I still think that Kivior had a far better game than Saliba.
He did.
Okay, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Mark for Saliba first, please. Nick.
Like a 5. I don't think you were speaking about his mistakes. I didn't really notice as many mistakes. And to me, looking at our build-up as well, first half, when they were, especially the start of the first half, they were suffocating us, and there were times where he could have easily been caught and kind of got away with it. And he's bringing the ball out of defence at times. I don't think it was that bad. There's a massive block and tackle on Hakimi as well, which was huge in the second half, I remember.
Viktor, we were just started saying that the centre back's performance wasn't as great as anyone would expect. Yep, please.
There wasn't anything sensational about it. They also didn't make many mistakes, I would say. So
that's kind of what I'm getting at. There's nothing really they weren't at fault for the goal. They weren't
right.
They didn't really make any egregious errors.
They positioned themselves appropriately during those defensive actions. So
this game isn't their fault, sort of thing. It's not their fault that the team couldn't do anything going forward. They essentially did their part in defence. Maybe not as cleanly as expected from them at times, but it was a 1-0 game for a goal that wasn't down to them.
I really think that there's nothing they could do with the conceded goal. I mean, here, I guess it was the fault of the midfield players who just saw the threat in the box and they just decided to do nothing about it. But we'll get to that. Jakub Kivior. And here I'm going to be advocating for him because I like the way how he was contributing in attack. I know that he's a centre back and nominally he's not supposed to. But then again, I think this is Mikel Arteta's style of play, where centre backs, they are also active in those offensive actions, especially in set pieces. Kivior had that one header from the free kick, I guess, in the first half of the game. Other than that, Kivior, he knew how to position himself properly. He did not do anything spectacular, but in my opinion, he performed just teensy bit better than Saliba because Kivior was visible. I could see Kivior fighting for those balls in attack and just trying to construct something. Nick, would you agree with that?
Not entirely, but I think it's the same as Saliba. It's a 5. He didn't really do anything.
Oh, come on.
He scored his goal for the season in the last game against Crystal Palace. He should have kept that goal for this game.
Oh, okay. So 0, no 0. He didn't score when he wasn't supposed to.
I'll give him a 6 or 7. He's fine. He was solid. He was solid coming in in this part of the season where everything matters right now, and covering for Gabriel, he's having pretty solid season so far. So
yeah. But you know what? If we're giving 7 to Kivio, okay, Nick, I do not think that you agree with the 7 for Kivio. What would be your mark at the end of the day?
I still think I don't think he was noticeably different to Saliba from my perspective, where I'm paying more attention to what Arsenal do, obviously, but I don't think he was that different. That's why I say a 5 as well. I don't mind if you want to give him a 6, but
okay, compromise 6 it is. To be honest, okay, perhaps we were watching 2 different games, because I really liked Kivio how he was. I don't
think I don't think he was noticeably better than Saliba, for example.
If we're talking about defense alone, yeah, I agree. But I'm talking about the overall contribution to the game, and I really think that Kivio contributed more to the game than Saliba.
Saliba did the same things for me, and I think our left-sided centre-back gets more license to go forward and around Miles Lewis-Skelly, because he does come inside. So, I think...
Okay, we're not going to agree on this.
Yeah,
one. Let's move on to. I think if we're willing to give Kivio a 6, then what mark are we going to give to Lewis-Skelly, who was by far, I think he was the best out of the defensive line. Nick, your thoughts on that?
7 or 8, to be honest.
I'll go with 7. Just because of the way that he is at 18, coming into a big game like this, showing that maturity. So.
One of the few players trying to drive us forward as well. Didn't have many opportunities to kind of drive through the middle, but when he got the opportunity with space in front of him, he went, and winning those fouls, as he seems to always do. But it's quite detrimental to some of the other players that an 18-year-old was one of our best players.
Mm-hmm. All of his passes in this game were accurate, all of them, 23 out of 23, which is pretty impressive. 9 ground duels, 7 won out of those 9. Expected assists even 0.14 here, as the stats say. So yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you that a 7 a 7 would be an accurate mark for Miles Lewis-Skelly.
He's here to stay for sure. Yeah, that's a left back that's going to stay there for a long time.
Yeah, and I think
for England, I'm not saying that he's going to stay at Arsenal.
Obviously, he's going to do it. Obviously.
Most likely, someone else bigger in Spain will snatch him eventually.
Perhaps,
or even in England.
Yeah, but you know what? I think I'm going to ask Nick here, because Victor can chime in, of course, at any time. But I think the performances of Lewis-Skelly, they present, and that's the showcase of a long way that Lewis-Skelly has gone through, being almost a liability as the left back, catching red cards left and right, to being one of the solid, solid factors of that defense, right?
Yeah, I don't think he was ever a liability. Some of the red cards were a bit stupid. The red card against Wolves just isn't a red card, for example. The red card against West Ham was more of a red card, but besides the point, he's come in. Calafiori was supposed to be in that position, and he has taken that, and it's going to be very difficult for him to get back in the team. To do that at 18, he's here to stay for a very long time.
Yeah. So, props to Lewis-Skelly. So, let's move on to the second line, and let's start with the hero of a game against Real Madrid, and a guy who tried to make some magic today, but it just wasn't to be, because his friends and then his teammates from the attacking line, they just did not deliver today. Declan Rice, ladies and gentlemen. Nick, your assessment.
I think you see from him trying to drive forward from 6 how him driving forward from 8 will cause more issues. That's why I'm quite more hopeful for next week of a better performance than today. I think it took him a while to get going, but once he was getting going, even his switches to Saka and Martinelli to give them opportunities 1v1 were so accurate.
I still think he was still
in midfield.
Yeah, I would still have him as the best player for Arsenal today. After the rough start, after that, yeah, he's the best player for Arsenal today, and the last few games as well
Yep.
in the Champions League.
Has been since like December.
Yeah. 7 ground duels won, 1 successful dribble attempt, 7 accurate long balls. He was that one bright spot, and I will definitely agree with Viktor here that Declan Rice was again like the best player for Arsenal. So if we gave Lewis Kelly a 7, then I guess Declan Rice should walk away with an 8 in that case. Yep, you guys agree? Absolutely. So we now know that we will not give any 9s or 10s today. We're going to be super strict, and that will take us to Merino. If he scored that goal, then I guess we could talk about, like, we could praise him even more. But unfortunately, he actually was offside, and that was a fair decision by the VAR. Okay, I'm going to turn to Viktor just for some variety. So, Viktor, what would be your assessment of Merino?
I mean, I think for Arsenal, he's better as a 9, and we saw that today, scoring the goal. But unfortunately, because of Parc being out, he had to play center mid. Nothing really. This is not a game for him. He's not that fast. He cannot cope with the PSG speed in the midfield, and especially once the ball goes to the wingers. So for me, Merino, 5.5 max.
I was going to be way harsher.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
3.
3.
3. I really he was slowing everything down, and I don't think he drove us forward as much as Rice would be. It's kind of an unfair comparison. This is a 25 million player bought to be on the bench compared to over 100 million pound player. But this is a Champions League semi-final. Like, you've not done anything this game, and like Victor was saying, next week when he's up front, I got much higher hopes for him. But yeah, I don't think he helped us much at all today.
Wow. Okay. So if Merino gets a 3, and for even his disallowed goal, then I'm really already feeling sorry for the likes of Martinelli and Odegaard, because we
give
might
him
be
a 2
brutal
and
today.
move on. Give him a 2 and move on.
yes, let's give him a 2 and move on. Okay, Martin Odegaard, ladies and gentlemen, one the weakest link to last night in the midfield of Arsenal. Kvaratskhelia just did whatever he wanted on that side of the pitch. Okay, he did not receive any help from his teammates on that side either. But still, I think you expect way more from Odegaard, isn't that right, Viktor?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have your captain with that performance, then you can't expect your team to win. So that was a letdown on his side. Hopefully he can regroup, and next week we see a different Odegaard. But for now, he can stick with it too.
Yeah.
So joined with Merino in that case. Okay. Okay, Nick, your thoughts?
This is like a 1 or a 2. This is unacceptable. You're the captain of the club, and their commentary, or at least for our coverage, are almost talking about Rice as if he is the captain already. And that's essentially what the fan base wants as well. These are unacceptable performances, almost have been since he's come back from injury, and there's reports maybe he's not fully rehabbed from this injury, but at some point you've got to give us something. You've got one of the best wingers in the world next to you. Create something, please. And it didn't even feel like he was driving us forward and playing through sort of his second phase as much as you kind of expect. This he is not, like I said earlier, he is not a popular player amongst Arsenal fans at the moment.
So he's even less popular than Martinelli, is what you're saying?
Because he's Martinelli's been good in the past month or so. So whereas Odegaard's not doing anything for us at the moment.
Ooh. Okay, actually, I expected the lowest marks for the front line. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's get to Gabriel Martinelli. Before I ask you, Nick, about your assessment of Gabriel Martinelli of this game, let me just say that one shot from the third added minute at the second half, which gone super wide, I think that just summed up the entire performance of Gabriel Martinelli and almost the entire Arsenal front line. That was just shocking. Like in such situations when PSG did not allow you a lot of freedom in midfield, when you are on the edge of the box, and a guy like Martinelli, I really think that he should have done better there. And that was just one example of, other than that, just subpar performance, really. Nick, your thoughts?
Like a 3. Like, I think he was significantly better than Trossard, who we'll probably get onto next. He has that massive chance in the first half. It's a really good save from Donnarumma, but it's also an element of like he's not getting any service. Like Marino's not giving him anything. Ødegaard's not giving him anything. The second best thing he got was from Saka moving to the left side and putting that cross in that he almost reaches. Like, I don't fully put it down to him, but he's got to try and exploit Hakimi pushing forward more for me.
Viktor, your thoughts?
Yeah, same pretty much. Couldn't tell anything different than what Nick just said.
All right. So, so let's just go slightly quicker. So Bukayo Saka now. I think out of this front line, he was basically the savior in terms of the savior. Well, he would be the savior if he scored a goal, but for Arsenal. But like he really was another bright spot aside of Lewis Kelly and Declan Rice. Nick, your thoughts on Bukayo Saka?
Like a 7, just because he was the only person like trying to do anything. It had, especially that second half of the first half, he was like pushing everything forward. So yeah, I mean, we know how good this guy is. Like, it's not really a surprise when he plays well in these games anymore. And even when he wasn't particularly at his best, which is again similar to Martinelli, down to not really getting enough service. Like, yeah, I've always got faith in him to pull something out of the bag, even if he didn't today.
What do you do with him over the weekend now that you know this tie is still wide open? You have Saka, who came back from a big injury. This is his first 90 minutes game in a while. He hasn't played in the Premier League. Do you rest him fully over the weekend, or you just give him 30, 40 minutes or even more than that?
He'll probably get rested. I imagine we'll rotate a lot of the team because, I mean, we've had nothing to play for in the league for months, so it'll probably be one area there again.
They probably still want to clinch second because you still get a little bit more money than you would get for third.
Yeah, but
and you want to get that done as soon as possible. Yeah.
Not to mention that technically, Arsenal could still drop out of Champions League. Technically, I'm just saying it as a mathematical probability. So. Not everything is settled in the league yet. So Bukayo Saka, nice performance for him. Of course, like it would have been better like had he created an assist or performed better. But then again, the entire team did not deliver, and that brings us to Leandro Trossard. Before we move, I let you assess him, let me just say that Marquinhos did not make the life very easy for him. On quite the opposite. By the way, Marquinhos is the first player to make 75 clearances at the Champions League this season. I think that Leandro Trossard met he was in for a big car crash against such a block like Marquinhos, who is, I think, right now one of the best centre backs this season in Europe. Would you agree, Nick?
I mean, he's set up for failure. Like, he's a 5'6", 5'7" winger, really, playing up front. Yeah. And he doesn't really help himself either. Like, he massively overplays stuff all the time. For me, he was like a 2 out of 10. He was so just useless. Like, this is why strikers are big physical players now. Like, it just didn't help us at all.
And he has been a great form. That's one thing. That's a thing that he got going for him. And also the part that Partey was missing, so he had to play as a number 9.
Yeah, exactly.
You're playing out of position. You're in form. But
He's
in a game like
obviously
this,
he's played striker enough to play better there now. As much as I say he's set up for failure, like you've got to do something. Like we've seen with Havertz and Trossard essentially interchanging at 9 before. Even doing that with Marino would have been better than what he did today, which would be largely anonymous.
Well, so I saved that Marquinhos remark as some sort of maybe, I don't know, saving grace there for Leandro Trossard, but no, even that did not stop our relentless pundits from burying into the ground. Okay, let me just say some quick word about the substitutions. Maybe we shouldn't say anything about Ethan Nwaneri because he did not get enough minutes for us to assess him. But the substitution for Timber, Ben White. What can we say anything about his performance there, or
he's
not enough
slowly
data?
coming
I
back.
actually have more to say
to
about
his form.
Waneri.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is definitely a good experience for a player like him. For an
Mhm.
18-year-old kid to come in on the stage this late into the Champions League, that's gonna go far for him.
Okay, Nick, your thoughts?
I have more to say on Waneri than White. I think Waneri showed him 5 minutes more than Erdegaard did all game. Like the little bit where he kind of dribbles across the box, and for me, he should shoot rather than pass off to Martinelli, who skied it like you said earlier. But he's more likely to drive us forward than Erdegaard is at the moment. It's just about trusting his kind of lack of physicality at the moment.
Okay, well, and just like that, we have gone through the entire Arsenal team, which played against PSG last night in the Champions League semi-final in the first leg. But there's always a second leg, and we're going to get to that after this.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Thank you, Zencastr, for allowing us to use your platform to produce and to make such great episodes just like that one. Hopefully, you're listening to Daily English Premier League, brought to you by Global Sports Podcast Network. So we discussed the general topics of the first general bullet points taken out of the first leg at the Emirates. We talked about individual performances. So now all that is left for us to do is to discuss the reverse tie, which will happen next week at Parc des Princes. I'm just going to start with Bioniq. What has to change in terms of personalities and in terms of Mikel Arteta's choices for the Gunners to have any fighting chance whatsoever to turn the tide in the favour?
I don't think it's particularly complicated. I think it's just going back to what our starting 11 is at the moment, with Partey at 6 and Rice at 8, Marino up front. Like, at the end of the day, we're very thin, and generally we've done particularly well to even get to this position. But with that lineup, it's a 1-goal game. Like, we kind of got to take inspiration from our women's team, who went to Lyon at the weekend with 1 goal down and beat them 4-1, like, to get to the Women's Champions League final. So take some inspiration from the women's team going to Paris next week.
Right, so it is doable, is what you're saying. Yeah, that is a good point, that Thomas Partey will be back after his suspension. So question to you, Victor, then. Who has to step up in terms of the players that you saw last night? Who needs to step up at Parc des Princes for Arsenal to make a difference?
Odegaard, he needs to be the captain that Arsenal needs to have. That's for sure. You need Saka, but most importantly, you need to have that intensity in the first 10 minutes. Because if you get killed in the first 15, 20 minutes when you play away, then it's done. So I don't know how they're going to regroup mentally, but that's the way to win the game.
Absolutely.
If there is one positive I mean, they needed to win anyways. It's no away goals, no nothing. Just losing 1-0 at home. It's still game is open.
Yeah, the game is open, and that is
if
just
it was
2-1
or 3-2 and it was away goals, it would have been a different story because in the back of your head, you'll have like, okay, we need to win by 2. But now it's completely open.
Yeah, it's absolutely open, and that's why there is still a fighting chance. So, any predictions?
PSG, one last thing. Arsenal need to do what Liverpool did against PSG. Remember, they won away, and then PSG turned around away. So now Arsenal has to do the same thing.
So I guess that is actually an interesting point. So Victor, if you say that Arsenal is to do the same thing that Liverpool did at Parc des Princes, then are we in for the 90 minutes of suffering? What do you think, Nick? Is it going to be 90 minutes of just like either Arsenal parking the bus and hoping for some counterattack, or are we going to see creative and proactive Arsenal?
No, I think you can't go there and park the bus 1-0 down. I think we just have to be more proactive, similar to how we played against Real Madrid, especially in the first leg. And it's far different because this PSG side defends so well. I don't think they're getting enough credit for how well they defend as a team. So it's not going to be easy. But I think, like I've said this whole podcast, I've got faith we can turn this around because we kind of said it when we had 4 Arsenal fans and Ishan after that we knocked out Real Madrid. Like, we beaten Real Madrid. Like, no disrespect to PSG who have just beaten us, but kind of what's PSG in terms of European legacy after you've been to the Bernabeu and won there? So these players shouldn't be as afraid as they've shown they seem to be today, especially at the start of the game. So.
Well, accolades do not play football. Players do.
No, but there is an aura about playing Real Madrid, definitely.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't think that's the same thing playing against PSG.
That is a big achievement to defeat Real Madrid in a knockout tie in the Champions League. But what's going to happen next week? We're just going to have to wait and see. One last thing before we go off the air here. Today, the second semi-final, Barcelona-Inter. Who have you got? Victor?
I'll go with Barcelona only because Inter is not in form. They've lost like 3 in a row.
Right.
But again, it's a semi-final and they're still Italians, so you never know.
Yeah.
But Barcelona is probably flying right now after winning the cup like that. But also you could see some gaps in their game, mental gaps. And again, I am not 100% sure that Barcelona is going to go through easy. Might not even go through at all. So it's a big advantage. It's a big advantage for Inter that they play the first game away. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, so we're just going to have to wait and see. Nick, your predictions, one last thing before we go off the air.
I said Inter could do Barca when we were predicting it last time, so I'll stick with that as much as Inter haven't been good, especially the last 3 games. But hopefully they can hunker down for my prediction, just get a 0-0, take it back to San Siro, steal it sort of 1-0.
Okay, so that is going to be one heck of football chess, is what our pundits predict, basically. So that wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening to Daily English Premier League podcasts. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you, Nick, a devoted Arsenal fan, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Victor, of course. Right from heaven on earth, which is called Chicago, Illinois. Thank you so much, Victor, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And me from California, from some normal-looking office. So, thank you. Subscribe, follow. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. And we will see you and hear you at the next one. Thank you so much. And we will hear you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.